Man, was this staged? A man walked up to one of the most heavily guarded events in Washington, D.C. with a shotgun, a handgun, and multiple knives. He got past the outer security checkpoint, opened fire, and within hours, Donald Trump was at a podium not talking about the attack, but talking about his ballroom. And we're supposed to believe this wasn't staged? Everyone, it's your girl, Chabella. Thanks for tuning in. Let's dive in. So, here's where we are.
Where's it coming from? Look out! Watch out! Everybody stay down, stay down. Police coming out, police coming out. Who's coming out, who's coming out?
All right, so Saturday night, April 25th, the White House Correspondents' dinner is in full swing at the Washington Hilton. And this is not a small event. We're talking 2,600 attendees. Trump is on stage with Melania, and J.D. Vance, Kash Patel, RFK Jr., Mark Rubio are all there as well. And they had a mentalist, Oz Perlman, performing, literally doing tricks for the President of the United States in real time. And at 8:34 p.m., a man charges through the main security, screening area, and the metal detectors at the outer perimeter of the hotel and runs past the checkpoint and fires at least 5 to 8 shots. CNN's Wolf Blitzer, who was standing just outside the main ballroom, says the gunman was a few feet away from him when it happened, firing what he described as a very serious weapon multiple times. Secret Service agents inside the room start yelling, "Shots fired." And Trump, who is literally on stage watching a magic trick, gets surrounded by agents within 10 seconds. Tactical gear, rifles appearing on the stage, attendees diving under tables, and all that. So they get Trump off the stage. He briefly stumbles in the process. Melania, Vance, Leavitt were all moved to secure holding areas within the hotel. And here's where it gets real. As Trump is being escorted out, Dan Scavino, White House Deputy Chief of Staff, is trying to start a USA chant in the middle of an active security incident. How weird. I'm not going to lie, but I didn't see that coming. The gunman was tackled. One law enforcement officer got hit in his bulletproof vest, who he's expected to be okay. The shooter blew out his knee from the tackle and was taken to the hospital. Now, who is this guy? Let's break that down because the who matters here. The suspect's name is Cole Thomas Allen. He's 31 years old from Torrance, California. He's an educator, has an engineering degree from what officials described as a prestigious university. This is not who you would picture when you hear active shooter at a political event. He left behind a written manifesto, and officials say it was explicit. He called himself the friendly federal assassin. The manifesto criticized Trump's administration and policy and said directly that he intended to target the people in the administration. His words, "I am no longer willing to permit a PDF, a rapist, and a traitor to coat my hands with his crime." His social media had anti-Trump rhetoric. Can you really blame him? And acting AG Todd Blanche went on Face the Nation and confirmed investigators believe he was specifically targeting the Trump administration. Well, duh. That's what it did say in his manifesto. And here's the kicker. His own brother, alerted law enforcement about Allen's intentions the day before, a whole 24 hours before the dinner. So the question is already circulating. If that warning came in, what happened with it? How does someone get to the outer perimeter of that event with a shotgun, a handgun, and multiple knives the very next night after being warned? He was arraigned Monday the 27th in federal court. Charges included assault on a federal officer using a dangerous weapon. But that investigation is wide open. Now, real quick, because this is where I need you to stay with me. Before the night was even over, Trump held a press conference. And immediately, before the full situation was even processed, this is what he said.
It's not a particularly secure building. And I didn't want to say this, but this is why we have to have all of the attributes of what we're planning at the White House. It's actually a larger room, and it's much more secure. It's drone-proof, it's bulletproof glass. We need the ballroom. That's why Secret Service, that's why the military are demanding it. They've wanted the ballroom for 150 years for lots of different reasons, but today's a little bit different because today we need levels of security that probably nobody's ever seen before. But everyone owes a tremendous debt of gratitude to the courage of law enforcement, the law enforcement and work.
He didn't want to say it, but he said it. Within hours of a shooting, that should concern all of us because he now wants us to pay for this unnecessary ballroom. With our tax dollars, I might add. And the next morning, he posted on Truth Social, and I'm going to read this to you because you need to hear this in full. What happened last night is exactly the reason that our great military, Secret Service, law enforcement, and for different reasons, every president for the last 150 years has been demanding that a large, safe, and secure ballroom be built on the ground of the White House. Well, this is news to me because he's the first president I've ever heard say the White House needs this ballroom. Ever. He went on to call it, and this is a direct quote, a military top secret ballroom. He then called on the ballroom lawsuit to be dropped, said it cannot be built fast enough. Now let's give you the full picture on what this ballroom actually is. Trump had the east wing of the White House demolished without any approval to make room for a $400 million event space on the White House grounds. A federal judge, Richard Leon, had just ordered a halt to the above-ground construction until the east wing overhaul gets congressional approval, just in April alone. An appellate court has since allowed construction to continue until at least early June. But the legal fight is very much alive. And about that lawsuit Trump described, he called it something brought by a woman walking her dog, such an old term, who has absolutely no standing. That woman is Allison K. Hoagland, an architectural historian, and the suit is brought by the National Trust for Historic Preservation. So the dots are always connecting themselves. And I'm not here to tell you what to think, but I am here to make sure. Are you thinking? Because let's get a timeline check. You got a federal judge that halts the ballroom construction. The very next thing that happens, a shooting at a correspondents' dinner, gives Trump the perfect justification to demand the ballroom be built and the lawsuit be dropped. And this was Trump's first time ever attending a correspondents' dinner as sitting president. He has always skipped them since his entire first term. Now he shows up, a shooting happens, and his first public statements pivot to the project his administration was just legally blocked from complete. Coinkydink? I don't know. None of us do yet. The investigation is ongoing, but the optics are something I think we're allowed to sit with. Meanwhile, and this one genuinely surprised me, well, not really. John Fetterman, a cosplaying Democrat senator from Pennsylvania, came out supporting the ballroom push after the shooting. He attended the dinner, he was there, and he used the experience to back a project that the Democrats have been calling a grift-filled vanity project for months. But he's always backing the Republicans. Matter of fact, I believe he's a Republican. Republican Meghan McCain, Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry said, I don't want to hear any more criticism of Trump's new ballroom. And let me say this, because nuance matters. People's lives were at risk by the lack of security. But a Truth Social post about square footage and secret features kind of lends itself to unserious, callous, and planned. But here's where I land. The real story here has two layers. Layer one, a man whose own brother flagged him to law enforcement 24 hours earlier still showed up armed to one of the most security-dense events in the country and was allowed to get off what he planned. That's a failure, full stop. And why that failure deserves every bit of scrutiny that it's getting. Layer two, the speed at which this became a political asset, not just from Trump, but from both sides of the aisle, is something we need to pay attention to. Because in this climate, nothing stays a crisis for long before it becomes a campaign. And a $400 million construction project that just got hit with a court-ordered halt that now suddenly has the best PR moment it could have ever asked for. I'm not saying it's not staged. I'm saying who benefits from it. That's always the question. And when the answer comes back that fast, that clean, and that loud, well, the dots always connect themselves. But keep your eyes open and drop it down in the comments. What do you think? Was this the perfect play for Trump to get his ballroom? Or was it all a coinkydink? Because I genuinely want to hear from you and where you land on this one. If this gave you something to think about, hit that like button. It genuinely helps the channel grow, and I'm definitely trying to grow. And if you want real conversations about what's actually happening in the world, tap in, hit that subscribe, because that's exactly what we do. Until next time, chat with you all soon.